Boxing aficionados, what's up? What's going on? Wow, what a weekend of fights. Actually, a great weekend of fights, wasn't it? Right? I would say that top to bottom, all platforms um, had fights with severe connotations, even Showtime and PBC. That Garcia Gutierrez fight, cross promotion, Golden Boy, Samson Lukovitz, you know, produced a winner with, vast repercussions moving forward. Hector Garcia may see a Shakur Stevenson down the line, and I don't see why not. Nice unification would be great. If not, there's certainly other 130-pound fighters that are right up there in line um, that he should see if he wants to get paid, right? So then there was Emmanuel Navarrete making his return to the ring after a 10-month layoff. I'm not gonna lie, this Eduardo Baez really took it to him. You know, if you go by the announcers, it sounds like Eduardo Baez was pitching a shutout. And one could make a case that he won about 4 of the first 6 rounds, perhaps even 5. But that's what you get. I mean, if you're Emmanuel Navarrete and you're used to fighting 5 times a year. That's 5 times a year. That means that's about every 3 months you're in the ring. And now you've gone 10 months without fighting. You're gonna lose a lot of timing and a lot of it's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of deterioration of your skill set, right? You are what you practice, and I know, and sparring's never like a real fight. So, and in this fight, apparently what he went through was a fight camp, and not so much a fat loss camp, and not so much a fight camp. In that he had to lose an astounding amount of pounds to just make the weight. So that was obviously the concentration for him, was making weight and not so much preparing for the task at hand, which was defeating the legendary Eduardo Baez. But at the end of the day, the cream rises to the top, and Eduardo Baez suffered a devastating body blow loss to show for his efforts. And then, of course, there is the most important fight of the day, the Anthony Joshua OLEKSANDR USYK rematch that has the boxing world on its ears. I'm always amazed with, the naysayers and negative Nancy's and all these guys that seem to, instinctively, reflexively just spew negative nonsense, like criticism instead of enjoying the ride, right? And then partaking in the results, and which is going to be a tussle for undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, which hasn't been around since Lennox Lewis, right? There hasn't been an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, and we're on the cusp of having that now. There's a lot of hate involved. I see a lot of people now, and it's basically Eddie Hearn fans, right? Eddie Hearn fans crying a river. A river of sorrow and woe, because Eddie Hearn is left out the dance, right? He's out the dance. He's out the heavyweight picture for the foreseeable future. I mean, he's got some fighters, but at the end of the day, he's not the Eddie Hearn, and Matchroom is not the company that was at heavyweight what it used to be, some 3, 4 years ago. I mean, they had the undefeated Adonis, Anthony Joshua, he of the, perfect image, and now what they've got is a 3-time loser with no belt and a questionable character of comportment upon losing. The guy went off the hinges, though. So what really happened with AJ there was that he realizes, man, like, there was more than those belts on the line. There was more than those belts on the line. Let's be clear about this. Most of you know that he's just signed a $100 million deal with DAZN, leaving Sky Sports for DAZN. He signs a $100 million deal. Now, unless Len Blavatnik, the owner of DAZN, is a complete and total idiot, which I doubt that he is, I would say that that $100 million deal was contingent upon him remaining champion. I mean, that's standard contract language in boxing. You're not going to pay a guy, you're not going to sign a champion, let's say $5 million as a champion, and then him lose and have no belt and still pay $5 million for him as a challenger unless there's a rematch clause. Well, the rematch clauses are over. So these $40-60 million paydays are over. And most importantly, the $100 million contract with DAZN. It ain't $100 million no more. I don't know what it is. It's probably a lot more money than most of us will see in a lifetime. But it is not going to be the $100 million it previously was. That is for sure. And I sincerely believe that that's what he was crying about. It was a lot. It's a lot to lose. It's not just the belts. It's the contract. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I know that there's a lot of AJ fans making up excuses for, how he carried the sport and this and that. And I recognize the guy has a very good resume, Unfortunately, he also has a real embarrassing loss on his resume, which he suffered at the hands of a fighter who is not elite, which was Andy Ruiz. He's not an elite heavyweight. I don't think he's an elite heavyweight. He's certainly not a Hall of Fame heavyweight, right? So he suffered a loss to that guy and didn't even look the picture. I mean, he didn't even look the part to a guy who doesn't even look the part in Andy Ruiz. So that was completely and totally embarrassing. Then he comes back, beats Andy Ruiz, but doesn't really avenge the embarrassment because he didn't knock out Andy Ruiz. He decided to stay away from Andy Ruiz. And let me tell you something. When you see a guy like that just knocked you out, you have to come back. If you really, really want to get that off your things to do list, off your ledger, you have to come back and really knock out an Andy Ruiz, because he knocked you out and made you look ridiculous on your maiden voyage to the United States, where you were going to introduce yourself to the American audiences. That didn't go well at all, thanks to Andy Ruiz. So has that, and then when you come back and you get a whole lot of money to avenge that loss in Jihad or Riyadh or wherever it is in the UAE, what you do, and I'm going to be consistent, I was very impressed with the fact that he was able to remake his style in order to outbox an Andy Ruiz, but at the end of the day, he didn't stop him. He had to stop Andy Ruiz, outbox him, and stop him in in order for him to really erase that blemish. So he got his belts back, came back, fought Usyk, not Usyk, Pulev, and I think somebody else. I'm not sure. I think they got two knockout wins or whatever. And then he gets Usyk. I think it was Pulev and Usyk. I'm not sure. Point is, he comes to Usyk, and you have a little guy, a guy coming up from cruiserweight, a guy who had trouble with, I believe, did he fight Chisora or Takam? I mean, Usyk had a lot of problems with people that were pressuring him. Guys that came to, I mean, in the 2 fights that he had in preparation for the AJ fight at heavyweight, he didn't look like a world beater, did he? And granted, he was preparing for AJ, and I know that Usyk is a scientific type of fighter that isn't. He's the type of fighter that will go into a ring and just work on something to build upon, so that he could get to the, to his ultimate goal, which was AJ. I understand that. At the same time, he didn't look like a world beater against Michael Hunter, and he didn't look like a world beater against either Takam or Chisora, whoever he fought there, one of those two. He didn't stop him either. So clearly, his power did not carry up. He wasn't known as a real KO artist at cruiserweight. So he goes up to heavyweight, and he looks that much more pure boxer rather than puncher. So you get Usyk in the ring. I'm gonna give AJ credit for not dropping the WBO belt, but I'm also gonna say that wasn't the smartest thing to do. Clearly, Usyk's style was always gonna give AJ fits because AJ's stiff. AJ doesn't have the footwork to deal with Usyk's movements, lateral movements in and out. He just doesn't have the speed, the agility, the footwork to keep up with that. His mistake was that he tried to in his first fight. The first fight, he tried to keep up with Usyk. He lost weight. He wanted to outbox the boxer. Big mistake. Looked stupid. Almost get stopped. In the rematch, I'm going to commend Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia did make AJ look much better in the rematch. If AJ would have fought that fight in the first match, he might have gotten a controversial win. If he would have fought the way that he fought in the rematch in the initial fight, he might have gotten a controversial win over Usyk, just like he got a controversial scorecard going his way in this rematch, right? But he didn't. So his mistake was trying to outbox the boxer initially. Now you come back, remake yourself, but it's too late. Now you're gonna have to outdo a sitting champion instead of going into the ring as a champion and getting the benefit of the doubt from all the judges. You're now gonna go in as a challenger, and some of those judges are gonna have to really play it straight and give Usyk his just deserve. And not that Usyk, it wasn't that much of a close fight, but there was a scorecard for AJ, and I believe that there would have been more scorecards for AJ had he simply done what he did in the rematch in the first fight. And I don't want to say that again. So the frustration you must feel. Sky Sports gets rid of you, right? They got rid of you because they didn't even try to match the zone's offer to you. They said, we don't need to match your offer. We'll go in another direction. And then they end up having you on their network, televising your fights, because his promoter, Eddie Hearn, gives away the TV rights to the fight to the UAE in the deal that you just had. So now you think that the zone is gonna pay you the $100 million after they couldn't even televise, after they couldn't even broadcast in one of their most in one of the territories that they are find of most import, which is the UK. They couldn't even televise the fight in the UK. The UK territories are just as important to the zone as the American territories, perhaps even more so because they're mostly about boxing, and boxing's bigger in the UK. So they couldn't televise that fight in the UK. They couldn't. They didn't have the rights to it. You think that the zone is happy about that? And you think that now they're going to fulfill and still pay AJ the $100 million contract that they did for him? He lost a lot. And now, moving forward, what you have is Frank Warren, Bob Arum, Tyson Fury, waiting for Usyk. And Usyk clearly, clearly, clearly icing out Eddie Hearn. I want y'all guys to understand that the moment that Usyk said, my next fight is with Fury or with no one else, that automatically froze out. Eddie Hearn. He said, I'm determined to get this fight. So if he's determined to get that fight, he's not going to bring anything into the mix that's going to deter or make anything difficult in making that fight. He may remain a free agent. I doubt it. He's an Aegis Klimas client. And if you look down the ledger of Aegis Klimas clients, you're going to find they are all with Top Rank. It is what it is. Only reason that OLEKSANDR USYK wasn't with Top Rank to begin with is because he's a cruiserweight, and Top Rank's never shown any proclivity to deal in the cruiserweight division. So they let him walk, even though that he had been appeared on a I think on a Vasily Lomachenko undercard, I believe, when Top Rank was still with HBO. Don't quote me on that. It was either still with HBO or they were just in the initial stages of the ESPN contract. Either way, he did appear on a Top Rank card. The point is, you had your Aegis Klimas. You've done business with Top Rank from the onset. You know how Bob Arum gets down. You know that all your fighters have every promise that has ever been made to you has been delivered upon, and they have done right by you. You can't go. You're gonna go take Usyk now to Top Rank. Especially now that Top Rank has a hell of a heavyweight stable themselves, right? Because it's not only the fighters that are signed to Top Rank, but it's also their relationship with Frank Warren. Their relationship with Frank Warren and Queensberry Promotions is seamless, no issues, right? They're like one and the same. It's like a subsidiary, like Queensberry Promotions is kind of like a subsidiary of Top Rank. Maybe I'm going too far, but it sure as hell damn seems like it, right? It's so seamless, their relationship. What's the first thing that Top Rank did when they got their ESPN deal? Well, then they went and signed Queensberry Promotions to for the TV rights for their telecast. That's a big deal. You put money in your main man Frank Warren's pockets, and he's gonna now look out for you. And that's why he brought Tyson Fury to you in the first place. He already had a deal straight with PBC to make a rematch with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, but instead he said, no, you know what? I'm gonna call my man and invite him to the party too. Bob, I got this going on. What's up? What can we do? Want to get involved? Boom. Seamless. And the same thing's gonna happen Now, and the interesting part about this is that even if Usyk were to say that, you know what, make things difficult for them, um, even if Usyk would have chosen that pathway, um, he would have ended up having to fight a Frank Warren fighter anyway, because the WBO mandatory is on with Joe Joyce. So Joe Joyce, a Frank Warren fighter, was had first dibs on Usyk. Joe Joyce, a Frank Warren fighter, has first dibs on Usyk if the deal with Fury does not get done. Now, if you're Usyk, do you really want to fight a Joe Joyce? That's a dangerous fight. They Joe Joyce knows who you are. They fought in the World Championships or something like that. You know, some weird fight, and it was not, you know, like, he didn't dominate Joe Joyce. I saw that fight. He beat him, but Joe Joyce has gotten a lot better. That dude is like, he's a problem. He's slow, but he's a problem. And unlike Anthony Joshua, Joe Joyce is not gonna try to outbox Usyk. He's gonna bring it straightforward. You're not gonna hurt me. You know, it's a dangerous fight, and he hits hard. Joe Joyce hits hard, breaks orbital bones. Like, the dude is serious. Can Usyk beat him? Perhaps, probably. I wouldn't put it past for Usyk to outbox Joe Joyce, because at the end of the day, Usyk's athleticism is otherworldly, especially for a man that size. But if you're Usyk, do you really want to chance that? Do you really want to chance that? No, I don't think so. So you get the Tyson Fury fight. Now, as far as the Tyson Fury versus Usyk fight is concerned, honestly, I don't think any of the things that Usyk does, any of the advantages that Usyk has on heavyweights, on other heavyweights, applies to Tyson Fury. I'm going to repeat that again. I don't think that any of the advantages that Usyk has on other heavyweights applies to Tyson Fury. For the simple reason that Tyson Fury's footwork is pristine. Tyson Fury's footwork is pristine. His ring IQ is ridiculous. He has power, as he's proven. And he has athleticism himself. And he can either beat you coming forward or try to be athletic with you. I don't know how Tyson Fury does it, but Tyson Fury is nothing to trifle with. And he can turn with Usyk. He can keep up with Usyk's mannerisms and movements in the ring. Tyson Fury can do that. And Tyson Fury finds a way of getting the W. You think you're outboxing him, he's going to smother you. You're thinking of going in on him, he's going to jab you out. You're thinking that you're going to be slick in the ring with him, he's going to show you that he's going to time you and keep up with all your movements, all your gyrations. He's his ability to fight southpaw and orthodox, has power, has quickness, Tyson Fury is a problem. Tyson Fury is officially a problem. And again, Alexander Usyk's advantages over all other heavyweights do not apply to Tyson Fury. They don't. It's as simple as that. You know, it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. Next level boxing talk, baby. I'm out. God bless.